Landscape Photography World, the podcast for everyone passionate about landscape photography. I'm Grant Swinburne and I'll be your host in this show, talking to landscape photographers about their motivations, why they do what they do, and what photography means to them. North Brisbane photographer Dallas Grenenger reveals a creative life shaped by stillness, simplicity, and a deep appreciation for quiet moments. Dallas reflects on how his earliest experiences photographing flowers, family and road trips with a small Kodak camera planted a spark that resurfaced years later when he picked up a mirrorless camera and began teaching himself the craft. Dallas describes himself as naturally introverted, and photography has become his way of expressing something personal without noise or pressure. He shares how he gravitates towards calm, contemplative scenes, favouring black and white images for their ability to strip away distraction and bring light, texture and emotion to the forefront. Long exposure work plays a key role in his style, allowing him to slow time, soften movement and create images that feel reflective and slightly surreal. Whether crafting fine art pieces, portraits or commercial projects, Dallas approaches each frame with the same quiet intentionality. Clean compositions, space to breathe and mood shaped by natural light. Beyond photography, he talks about his love of cycling, exploring new places at a slower pace, and the way these experiences feed into his creative mindset. Through his thoughtful process and grounded perspective, Dallas reminds us that photography is as much about paying attention as it is making images, an invitation to pause and notice the quiet beauty in everyday scenes. I hope you enjoy the show. G'day Dallas, welcome to Landscape Photography World. Nice to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Very great pleasure.
Pleasure to be here.
Why don't we start with who Dallas is and why is he a photographer? And in particular, why is he a landscape photographer?
For me, it's a bit of a personal thing. It's a good way to escape the noise of life. I use it as a way, and I think it's actually reflected in my work a bit. I use it as a way to dull the noise, minimize things, tunnel vision, my endeavor, like when it comes to what I'm trying to produce. And so that's basically that.
Awesome. So where did it start for you? When did you first see, okay, this photography caper looks interesting? Where did that start?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I think it's a bit runs in the family, so a bit inherited too. But for me personally, it was as a kid, my parents bought me a camera, me and my sister, and we just walk around the backyard, like simpler times back then, not as much tech. Yeah. And we just walk around the backyard and like, I used to like floral stuff. So we'd have like some hibiscus plants and I used to get them in bloom and just things like that, things that would capture my interest, birds. Yeah. And then we actually, I'm from New South Wales. So we moved up to Queensland when I was about 5. We lived in like the Manly region of New South Wales. So when we moved up here, we obviously had family down south and we'd make, like 2 yearly Christmas trips down. And obviously that was a great opportunity for us as kids to see the landscape. We'd drive down.
Sure.
And they lived at like the Gosford area, the Central Coast region, which in and of itself is, a beautiful place.
Absolutely.
And so admittedly, all along that trip, you'd have numerous destinations that we'd stop at, and it was just handy to have the camera there. It was always something we liked. We'd even document our own little, like my sister and I's little experiences as kids and stuff. So, cool. Yeah, that's how it sort of started. And then through school, like the latter stages of school, like the high school and whatnot, where the study picks up and the expectations grow on you and the pressure and whatnot.
Yep.
Photography sort of fell away, and I was more into sport. I was never really constrained to an art form. I never did art class. I never pursued art, which I thought might tie in interestingly with my photography work as it eventuates. And so, I'd always focus on sport at school, and the art sort of took a back seat. But after school actually, and after I finished my study with my degree, I just thought I was looking for a bit of a hobby. I played sport up until even post school, and looking for a hobby, and just thought I had it narrowed down. I thought I'd get myself a camera, but wasn't sure what. And because I had digital cameras in amongst all my childhood,
Mm.
so I had narrowed it down to a Canon 80D and a Fuji mirrorless.
Yep.
And I don't know, you have to go one way or the other. I couldn't procrastinate for too long. That's right. So I ended up landing on the Fuji, and and also the tactility of it. How I like the way the I don't know if we talk much gear on. You're not going to talk.
I don't normally talk about it because personally, I don't think it's that exciting.
No, it isn't.
That's me, but
yeah, that's right.
People get right into it.
Yeah, for me, I would say that as you're learning more so not your point and shoot elements of photography, I found that having I guess it's a very dial prevalent camera, so a lot of your adjustments are manual on the top of it, and I found that quite useful to learn with. It felt more like an instrument rather than just a piece of tech, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, when I look at the Canon, for example, there's so many layers in, particularly the new ones. There's so many layers in the menus that it feels kind of like you're not playing a computer game, but you're scrolling through menus to get to what you want to change and so forth.
Yes, that's right.
I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, and I guess that for me, and everyone learns differently, I think that helped the experience and understanding. Like when you can literally look at the top of the camera and see your adjustments, your exposure comps, your ISO, your shutter speed, all that sort of thing. It just helped with that process for me. And so, I haven't looked back since.
So what is photography in your life now? Is it a hobby? Is it a career? Is it sideline? What is it?
It's not a career. It's a hobby. I would say it's a hobby. Although I have done paid work, and it's fun. And I wouldn't say I wouldn't like more of it.
Sure.
But obviously, it has to fit in somewhere with everyday life and also my job and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely a hobby, and it's something I enjoy. I juggle it with my physical, like my exercise hobby, and that's cycling. So it's like a juggling act between the two. Sometimes the photography will take a bit more of the limelight. Other times the cycling. So it's just a bit of a hobby, and something that, again, in both instances, whether it be cycling or photography, it gets me away. I can breathe. You're calm, and as I say, I think as I've evolved, because I got my first camera, my mirrorless camera per se, in 2019. Right. So as I've evolved from what you would call the Instagram looking images, just the color bombs and the saturation and all that sort of thing, I've sort of come to understand that my photography reflects what I feel when I'm out in the field, and so basically when I look at a photo, I can essentially put myself right back there, and I know exactly what I was feeling, and it's just that sense of getting away from the noise of life that I enjoy about it, and of course the creativity.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you shifted to mirrorless, and you say that was about 2019 or so, was that when you were starting to say, okay, well, this is actually an art form and a form of expression beyond and above, trying to keep up with, say, an Instagram trend, or trying to document life or the world around you?
Yeah, I would say it did. It started the process of that, but I wouldn't say it was a gradual process. So it wasn't an immediate thing. Initially it was just get out there, get some snaps, for much the same reason, just the getting away and the relaxation of it all. But the actual thought process behind, hang on, this is true. This can be a true reflection of self and art, personified type thing, or through the image, was more recent. I would say probably a couple of years ago.
Interesting.
I developed that, where it was And I think it takes that in some, for me, it took that because you obviously reflect on your work. You know,
Sure.
if you could look at work you took 5 years ago and you might not think it's as crisp or a reflection of what you'd present it as now,
Sure.
with the abilities of post production. But certainly it wasn't instant, to answer your question. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm always interested in that process that people go through because it is a very common thing. Some people start out saying, "Okay, I'm an artistic person. I've done art studies or whatever it is,
Yes.
and this is now an extension or just a type of creating art
Yeah.
that So they sort of start out, but other people do start, and I think it's probably the majority start in that position of saying, okay, well, I'm documenting the world, and all of a sudden something starts to change in their
Yeah.
brain, and they go, oh, okay, this is a little bit more than just a picture of a bunch of rocks and a wave or
That's
a
right.
mountain or a tree or whatever. And then it becomes something that,
Deeper.
okay, how do I drag out what I'm feeling about what I'm seeing into that image?
Yes.
And I'm
That's
just
right.
interested in how that, pardon me, how that process works for different photographers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fascinating one. And sometimes I guess you don't think about these things until you're asked them. But as you do develop your own style, I guess, if people do, I mean, I found I have, and that tends to be black and white. So basically the cruxes of my style would be currently black and white, long exposure, minimal-ish. And I think you do think about it, but it's not as direct as a direct question, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, no,
you just
I know
come to
what you
these
mean.
things, you just peel back layers
Yeah,
and eventually you get to the center of it, and that's what the product is, like
yeah.
it's a tough one, but
I,
yeah.
I think that what happens is people gravitate to things that make them feel a certain way.
Yeah,
Now, whether
absolutely.
it's drama and, moodiness, whether it's minimalism, whether it's
Mhm.
bright, colorful images, with, you know, all sorts of, you know,
Yeah.
bits and pieces to it.
Yes.
It is really about what makes you tick and what makes you gravitate towards that sort of style, I guess.
Yeah, and in that context, I suppose, and that's what I found probably one of the most difficult elements of it is the Instagram, the social
Sure.
media, because to your point on all those things, there's Instagram's not very forgiving in that, and you're led to doubt yourself just inherently because
Sure, sure.
you're not, you could go. I've had, in terms of like sheer like stunning phenomenons of the sky or
Yeah.
sunsets and sunrises. I've had two that are very prevalent in my mind, and that's one morning at Shorncliffe in 2020, I believe, about April 2020 it was, or come early 2020. There was an absolute pearl of a sunrise over that jetty. I'll never forget it, and I think I've got it way back on the Instagram profile. But it, for my Instagram at the time, it created waves. Like everyone was all about it,
Sure,
uh,
sure.
and you could argue, like, of course, beautiful and all that sort of thing. And it took you got to expose it correctly and do all the dues that a photographer has to do, but you're not doing a great deal, if that makes sense. Like I
Yep.
didn't. It wasn't art in my mind. It wasn't art. It was me capturing a moment, and that's good. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the the pressures of Instagram are such that the further you hone your style, I feel like you're looking for the same response, and you might not get it, but
Yeah,
you shouldn't
totally.
be disheartened by that. That's probably one thing I would say to anyone who's on social media, that
Oh,
don't be
totally.
disheartened by
Yeah.
lack of engagement, and certainly with all the video, how it's trending
Yeah.
with the videos and the
I
shorts.
think there's also a bias, and whether it's that childlike mind that people have about color and movement, which
Yes.
the whole video thing comes from, but there is a bias, I think, against black and white images. I
Yeah.
know that if I post a black and white that I'm really proud of, I love it, I love
Yeah.
it to death, in amongst all the color ones, it'll
Yeah.
be here, and the color ones will be
Yes.
here in
Yeah.
terms
It's
of
just
response and engagement,
yeah.
and it, I don't know what it is, whether it's just that child mind that says, "Oh, it's colourful, so therefore it must be good." Like this
Yeah,
one, hey, this is great.
it has to
Whereas
be
the black comes in and they
psychological.
go, "Ah, scroll." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I know my youngest daughter won't even watch a black and white movie simply because it's old, it's just boring.
yeah, yeah.
And yet
It's
you go,
almost like
okay,
it's
well, have you actually
stimulating.
sat and watched something like Casablanca? Which is
Yeah,
it's really old and it's in black and
yes,
white, but it's a marvelous.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny, but at the same time, you have to appreciate those moments because as photographers,
Totally.
as you would know, you don't get many of them. The other one was a sunset at a local lake called Lake Samsonvale here, because I'm in like the southeast Queensland region, Moreton Bay region. So, and we've got plenty of beautiful spots around. But yeah, there was a sunset one in particular day that was that bright orange that I remember I was up against the bank and I had actually, I think it was the family, even mum and dad were there with my wife and the kids. And when I turned around to look at them, I could literally see fire in their eyes. It was just due to the sheer brightness, and it was phenomenal. And again, got that photo, and they're awesome. But I think as you progress, and I'd want to be there again. Like I'd absolutely capture that again. Like you can't, you're flat out. You're going from one because it's that good. You want an angle from here, there, and everywhere. So off you go on your merry way, going crazy. But yeah, it's how you as you evolve, you learn that you don't necessarily need that, despite the fact it'll get exceptional reception on social media, and the average person will look at it and admire it. But there's more to it.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're driving at. I guess one of the things that comes out in that conversation is that I guess people are attracted to those sorts of images, partly, as I said, because that child mind that says, "Oh, it's colourful, it looks like it's got a lot of dynamism in it," and those are the sorts of images that tend to do much better. But I think also, for me, those experiences, in a way, more important than the end result.
Yes, exactly.
Is that what you found? And is there an example that you've got in your career as I thought the experience was actually worth more to me than the end result in terms of the image that I created out of it?
Oh, yeah, I suppose in lots of ways, just the experience in and of itself of just being there, being present, being out in the field. I don't know that I've got any. Obviously, those beautiful sunrises and sunsets are great, but they're resounding in the memory.
Sure.
But I don't know that there's. I think for me, just the way I perceive things, I guess it's just even if it's a family outing to, you make a day of it, and then you happen to get great conditions, the camera's there, off we go. Like it's that sort of thing for me. I'm not. I don't. I try and look at, I guess, extrapolate any goodness out of every situation I'm in with it as a photographer. I've had a few instances where I guess your conception of what you're about to capture, you've got that preconceived idea in your head, and what you get is you're just like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. I mean, as of late, I shoot in Acros, which is a Fujifilm simulation, black and white essentially, it's monochrome, and obviously I can adjust that. I can turn it back to color if need be, but I prefer to shoot in monochrome because that's the end result. It's like the first stepping stone. Might as well shoot in it. That's how I figure it anyway. If you're going to produce in monochrome, you might as well shoot in it because you can see the tones and all that on the camera as you're producing it. But yeah, and then I like to preconceive the visual of what I'm doing, even when the exposure's off, like running. And sometimes you just get that. It just absolutely hit the nail on the head type image, and that's what I really find enjoyable in the process. Yeah.
Where do you go to get inspired? What's the place that sort of, and it might be a place in your head or it might be a physical place. Where do you go to get inspired?
As in, am I like seek inspiration, like from other photographers?
No, if you're looking for inspiration, where do you go?
Oh, I mean, I can just have a think about it. I do look at photographers, but I don't idolize any of them as such. Like,
Sure.
you know, your Ansel Adams, like black and white photographer, and Michael Kenner. I find a lot of his work resonates with me pretty well. He's got that very minimalist and almost thought invoking images. There's not to the point where you could almost argue lots of people wouldn't even take a second look at them. But if you do happen to stop and actually recognize what he's doing in his images, then you can stop and appreciate them. So I think a lot of it's just thinking of locations and like seeing what other local photographers have done, even if it branches as far as, you know, New South Wales, like down where you are or
Sure.
anywhere like that. You see images that you find compelling enough to go, oh, you know what, I'd like to go there and put my 2 cents worth out to show how I perceive this, or how I can assess the compositional elements and produce what I want to evoke out of it. So I guess that's where a bit of everything really, but a lot of it's just up here, just thinking about how I'd like to portray it.
Yeah. I guess looking at it in two different ways, you produce work for yourself, and I always encourage photographers to do that and ignore what anyone else thinks about it. If you like it, then it's good is a very subjective idea.
Absolutely.
And to me, I'm always interested in how people think that other people should perceive their images. How do you hope people feel, or what is it that you think they should be taking away when they look at your images?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would hope that people, I guess in the same vein I just mentioned, just don't just flick past it. Oh, another black and white long exposure. Perhaps maybe just visualize it for its essence and try and interpret it a bit more. I mean that is art, isn't it? Really, like when you step back and you think about art, it's subjective, and photography screams subjectivity. It's a brutal game. I mean, I can absolutely love a picture I've produced, and I can send it to a family member, and they'll go, that'd look better in color. And I'm like, you know, and how can you argue that? Because that's their perception. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the hard part. But I guess I'd just like people to just look at it, just appreciate it. And it is, some of my images are quite simple. I like geometry. I look at things geometrically. Oftentimes I like a bit of like the image to be equal, I guess, and in all respects. Like, so, you know, the horizon might be deadpan center of the image, and the object I'm straight onto the object. It's a very, very harmonious image in that respect, or at least that's how I see it. Yeah, it's a tough one to say exactly how I'd want someone to visualize it, but just simplify it, and even if it calms them, because I like to think my images are quite calming.
Oh, totally. Yeah. For me, that's one of the things that I get out of them. I mean, I love a minimalist monochrome long exposure. It's one of my favorite genres of photographer.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though I do a lot of color stuff, but it's funny. I always look at my work anyway as I'm editing. One of the techniques I use for making sure that I've got the right balance tonally is I will move it into black and white. So you're only looking at the tones. So you can see, okay, if I blown the highlights in this section or whatever, you know, and then I can dial back whatever it is that I did to sort that out. But I always look at them, not at every stage, but I always look at them as a black and white image when I'm getting close to finishing.
Yes. Okay.
And at some point I will actually make a decision. Okay, I'm going to put this out in the world as a monochrome or as a color. And again, it just comes down to feel. How do I feel about it? If I feel it looks better in black and white, then that's how it'll come out. And if I feel it looks better in color, that's how it'll come out.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, there's certain lighting conditions that lend themselves very much to that sort of style.
Yes.
What do you do to connect with a place before you photograph it? So are you relying on instinct or research or experience?
Ooh, I'd say a combination of all of them. So I don't necessarily have to. For me, I can, for instance, if I'm riding my bike and I ride past a spot that I see is very, I can almost ride past it, see what it is, and know, okay, that's somewhere I can come back to. And then upon return, it's more just relying on instinct. So it's, I'll have the camera on the tripod, and I'll just, if not on the tripod, just slung over my neck, and I'll just hold the camera up and just walk around the area.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes I can just stand in a spot and know that's exactly, just based on memory of the area, just know that that's where I want to compose. So, but I mean, if it's somewhere that's a bit further, far-fetched, I guess, I'll do a bit more research. Like I'll see if I can find some images on the internet of, that area and what other images have been produced, and just to see if I can gain a bit of inspiration there before, the venture. But more often than not, it's just on a whim, just turn up and see what speaks. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned there cycling past and seeing something and saying you might come back to. Do you ever combine the two activities where you slip the camera into a backpack and just cycling around and you go, okay, I'm going to stop and take a shot?
I haven't done that. I have with my phone. I have, but not to the point where it'd be a producible image. Although, in saying that, the phone is capable of it. This phone here does shoot in RAW. So, I mean, you might have given me an idea there.
Well, there you go.
But no, to date, carrying my camera bag while I'm on the bike is it just couldn't.
I know a couple of photographers do exactly that. There's a local Sydney bloke goes out and he's out cycling at silly o'clock,
yes,
o'clock in the morning. So he'll do his ride, but he'll ride, say, 15 Ks from where he lives.
Yes.
Prop up there, say, all right, listen to the image of Sydney Harbour or whatever,
Yeah, right.
You might have gone down the coast a bit or up the coast a bit,
Wow.
You'll find something and go, okay, well, this is, and he'll put out every day. He puts out, this is my shot from this morning, pretty much.
It's a good idea.
He's doing that, and it's just something stylistically he's done. So
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. You might.
Yeah, I might have to get the phone out a few more times.
Might have a new project to work.
Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of projects, do you set yourself goals? Do you set yourself projects in your work, or is it more towards, it's just on a whim, I'm going to go here and go and take shots?
I would like to set, I haven't as yet as such, but I'd have thought about the idea of doing like a jetty based project style thing, just from a personal level, whereby because I am drawn to jetties. I mean, they make the perfect, subject for long exposures.
Classic leading line.
Yeah, that's right. But more so the not just capturing the jetty, but capturing the characteristics of the jetty to make it what it is.
Yeah, right.
So, every like intimate, that's what I'm getting at. The intimate scenes, not just your broad, stand back, set the exposure to 2 to 4 minutes or whatever it may be, and happy days. More just actually look at it for what it is structurally, and the shapes, because they are all unique. If you stop and look at them, they all have something unique to offer.
There's always something different.
Yeah. And on a personal level, I think that'd be pretty cool to have a bit of a gallery that has, I guess, a encapsulation of the characteristics of jetties, because there are a few on offer where in my area, and I'd like to go up a bit further north to like the Hervey Bay. I know Hervey Bay has a few, and even south. I know there's plenty down the coast of New South Wales and that, but it's just about getting there, getting the time and that to do it.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there a particular place that just keeps calling you back that you keep returning to?
I have done quite a few return trips to Shorncliffe in my time. Yep. I'll be honest there. I mean, I think a lot of photographers have the same. Shorncliffe has that vibe.
It's a good place for photography.
Where else? I would say I've done a few Wellington Point return trips. That's got a nice little jetty there as well. But I mean, Shorncliffe for me is quite localized, and I tried as of late. I mean, I haven't published the work as such. I've got a lot of work that I haven't published, but I try to again do a bit more of that, intimate stuff. And there's a bit more on offer there at Shorncliffe. There's a few other objects you can use as some nice leading, like lines to lead into a scene and things like that. So, but I wouldn't say, I'm compelled to go back to anywhere repetitively as such. It's just sometimes it's easy to get if I need the photography fix, I'll venture out to Shorncliffe. That's an easy one. And it's hard not to, I feel like it's almost hard not to come away with something at Shorncliffe. There's been maybe one or two times where you don't, but it takes quite a dull day to produce nothing. So
I've always found that some solid overcast days. The only days I really don't like is when it's absolute gale force horizontal rain and the sea is such a mess that there are no shapes in it. And it's just,
yes, that's right.
It's just boiling foam, and it's just
it just looks yucky in the exposure.
It doesn't look nice.
Yeah. I've actually, speaking of weather, today is prime. We've got, as I look out now, we've got some cloud cover and when you get the cloud cover, but it's got those darker clouds intertwined, that's when you get that real detail in the
absolutely.
And see, that's the other thing too. Your style lends itself to what you see. So if I look out now, lots of photographers look out and say, "This is no good," but it's soft, diffused light, cloud cover. That's just game on, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Like really, for someone like me, anyway. 4 minutes of that, you just get that nice, wispy, smooth out cloud, and as long as the water's behaving itself too, you're on.
Absolutely. Yeah. For if you're doing a very long exposure, that wispy cloud is perfect and ideal conditions.
Get the 15 stopper out.
Yeah, I was hearing I'm not hearing anything that would stop me going.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And then I don't know about you, but I've got the 10 stop ND but the 15 stops when you can really have a bit of fun.
Oh, absolutely.
I get that going a bit. And in the daytime, because the light is still plentiful but albeit diffused, you've got a bit to work with. Like you're not exposing for ridiculous amounts of time.
Yeah.
But and obviously if the wind holds up, because I've had a few times where the tripod's as firm as, but you'll get one gust of wind on a 15.
The whole thing just vibrates a little bit.
And as soon as you zoom in that little bit, it looks great on the back of the camera, but as soon as you zoom in, it's just that tiny bit.
Mushy. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling. I do quite a bit of ultra longs, 7, 8 minute stuff before the sun's up. And exactly that, or you might have because I'm usually standing knee deep in water when I'm taking photos.
Yeah.
You might just have that wave that just judders it a little bit more than another one, Yeah,
yeah.
And it's just, I've just wasted 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't want to stop the exposure because you're like, we'll let it go. We'll see. Because I know I've done that too. You're 4 minutes into a 15-minute or something, and you get that little breeze. You're like, oh, do I? Nah, I'll see. And sometimes
you're okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's one of those games. It's a bit brutal sometimes, but it's all part of the fun.
I don't have a 15 stopper. I'm thinking about that, but I do have a 10 and a 6 and a 3.
Yeah, and you can
in most cases I just stack them, and I usually find the 13 is good enough during the day.
Yes.
Occasionally, if it's a little bit brighter, then I might add the extra 3 stops and put the 6 stopper on and take the 3 off and do 16 stops down, which is roughly equivalent to the 15.
Yeah,
it gives you that ability to really lengthen,
drag it out the exposure,
drag out the exposure.
Yeah.
The one thing I really like about it, I don't know if you've played around with that, is doing shots on busy roads.
I have done that. Yeah.
Yeah, you get that extra long exposure, and all you can see is road because the cars don't.
Yes, they're not there.
They're not there
unless there's lights on.
I'm talking during the day usually.
Yeah.
So unless someone's driving at you with their headlights on, and you might get a couple of streaks maybe. But
I've found I've seen a lot of people in heavily populated areas like cities who want that effect.
Yeah.
Some architecture that is really interesting, but they don't want the clutter.
They don't want all the traffic and the people. And
it's actually really effective. So
I find it really annoying though. Sometimes you get the person that just stands there for 7 weeks.
Yes. That's like the pain in the neck 101 for when you're on a pier too.
Yeah.
Straight down the gun barrel.
The fishermen, they stand there for hours and days.
Yeah. But it's the people that, like, unbeknownst to them, are just having a conversation. They just decide to pull up 20 meters away straight ahead. But all part of the fun.
No, that's what cloning tools are for.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You mentioned that you use it for photography as a form of relaxation. And how do you think landscape photography has helped you grow or change as a person? Perception.
I think I guess it's the old cliche, like as a photographer, the way you look at things changes. You're not just, you find yourself looking a bit more into the world and what's going on around you when you're a photographer, because you're breaking things down a bit further. I feel like you're just looking into things that extra bit, whether it's detrimental or not. In some cases, it might be. You might find it gets a bit annoying, but I find, I don't know how, I guess you understand yourself a bit better too through photography as your style develops. Because as I said, you do it for the enjoyment, but then you find out a bit about your personality based on what you're drawn to through your imagery. Yeah. And I guess that's part of the learning process too of photography, as of yourself. Yeah.
Interesting. What's the furthest you've traveled to get a shot?
Ooh, I'd say, well, I've been on a work trip through photography for paid work, and that was in Melbourne. So furthest, like from point to point, would be probably Melbourne. Yeah. For a shot. I did a couple of shoots of the city there, and where do we go? I can't remember the name of the place we went to. But probably Melbourne would be about as far as I've been. By road, it would probably be about 150, 200 Ks. We did a little trip out to a waterfall, a bit inland in like the scenic rim region. Yep. So I haven't published that one yet, but that'll come eventually when I get around to the post process. Yeah.
How does where you live influence how you shoot? I know it influences what you shoot because you've got access to these and waterfalls and so forth, but how has it changed, or how has it shaped how you shoot? Do you think it has?
Yeah, I think it has. I think, and obviously favourably, because I am drawn to water. I find being in the presence of water just to be relaxing, whether that be, ocean or, river, whatever the case may be, but dam for that matter, but just being in the presence of water. And I think the best way I find to capture water is through long exposure. Yeah. So I think, given where I am in a coastal location with water around, the long exposure, it's pushed me towards long exposure just because I find that to be calming, reflective, all that sort of thing, and draws you in. Yeah.
You talked about a couple of memorable experiences with those sunsets and sunrises. What about horror stories? Have you had any dramas or any issues while you're out shooting?
Oh, I hope no one's wanting anything crazy. I've done no, I haven't had anything crazy. I've had a few near misses. I've done a few skates on some mossy rock.
Yeah,
I'm sure most of us can resonate there. No camera damage sustained out on site. I've had my camera on the tripod in position with no battery. I've done that, and I've done the no memory card trick. Yeah. And I'm sure lots of us can resonate with that. I've done one at home where I've had my camera bag. My camera bag has a side pocket on it where the camera just goes straight in. I've left that open. Camera's fallen down and like broken the lens mount on my wide angle, mind you. But yeah, that's about as tragic as I've been. Not too crazy.
Oh, that's not too bad then. Yeah. You talked about what photography has done for you. What have you learned about the world through photography?
Ooh, I've learned to appreciate it for the natural beauty that it offers. But I guess you have to, the old leave it how you found it trick. Don't, just appreciate what's around us a bit more. I think we're in a time where it's easy to instead of go to the park, take the kids to the park, or go and see something you haven't seen before or been before, that it's easy to just say, oh no, we'll just put a show on the TV and that'll burn a few hours. But I think there's something to be said for going out there and getting out amongst it. I mean, even to the point where the old boy, in one of my recent images actually at Budrum Falls, that was, my dad's getting a bit older now, and mind you, he still gets around, and I dragged him down to Budrum Falls, and which is, I'm sure you've heard of that place.
I've been to Budrum.
Yeah. And so we dragged him down. I dragged him down there with me, and it was a good little bonding experience. But just getting out there and appreciating what's around us. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, that's probably the main takeaway.
Yeah, cool. What about processing? Do you come home straight away and get into it, or do you leave them to marinate for a while? I'm sort of hearing that you probably leave them for a bit.
Yeah.
So there's places you've been that you say you haven't published them.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you work on them straight away?
No, I can honestly, Grant, I can let images simmer for years. And it's not so much that it's not for any reason as such. It's just I don't have a problem. Like, I'm just as happy with the process of photography as I am with the result.
Yeah, nice.
If that makes sense. So, yeah, as I said, I've been to numerous places recently that I haven't even. I've put the card in the computer, put the images on a hard drive, or backed them up per se, but certainly just haven't looked at them. So yeah, I can spend years sitting on a picture.
Yeah, I've just finished editing one from 2023 that I took at a local beach, and it's because, been through my most recent trip and done all of them, and kind of like, time to go and have a look in the archive, see what's there. And
that's right.
I just love the fact that you can do that.
Yeah.
Do you cull your images? Do you look in the back of the camera and say, nut, and get rid of it there? Or do you wait until you get them back in the studio and play with them there?
No, I typically, because when I fall into my workflow out in the field, I tend to not cull any images. I'll capture them, and even if it's just a brief look.
Sure. Like,
sometimes if I'm ecstatic with the image, I'll like have a good look at it and just appreciate it.
Yeah.
But typically it just stays on the card until I get it back, and when I decide to have a look at them, I'll compile them and pick which one's my favorite and the goer. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated about where people learn their photography. Where did you pick that up? Was it through tutorials? Did you study at all? How did you, and that's both field work as well as post-processing.
Yeah. So, my photography is self-taught. I've read books. I've looked at other artists and tried to emulate that, whether that be just have a look at an image and just try and get my pictures to look like that through some post-processing practices.
Yeah. Right.
And a lot of it's just through experience. Like you learn as you go as well. I mean, as long as a landscape photographer, if you're at f8, your lowest ISO, you use your histogram. That's the crux of it. And then beyond that, it's just the artistic elements. You're like, this is for just your general landscape scenes.
Sure.
And so I just stick to that, f8 to f11, lowest ISO possible. And yeah, the post-processing, that's evolved a bit, because it used to be just dump it into Lightroom and initially it was very, I guess, saturation, very contrast based and things like that. But now my post-processing is really not difficult. I obviously drop it into Lightroom. I'm in monochrome 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
And I'll just play with the basics, look at exposure. And because I do like, a lot of my pictures have blacks. So I'll definitely have full blacks in a portion. I'd say probably 5% of the image is probably pure black, and that's just to draw consistency across them all.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of my editing is a bit of rinse and repeat to get that theme. And once I've got the theme, I'll play with a few things here and there. I might put a radial filter in there just to lighten certain elements up of it. But a lot of it is Lightroom. I don't really play around with Photoshop a great deal. I have though, I've played around with Photoshop looking at bit depths and all that sort of thing. But typically it's achieved in Lightroom. It really is. So
interesting.
Yeah.
What about printing? Do you print any of your work?
Yeah. I've printed a handful, probably not as much as I would have liked to, but yeah, I've definitely got a few prints hung up around the house, and I just think it's just a good thing to do. I mean, it is different. It is different. I feel like seeing your work on a social media platform and advertising it on there or presenting it on there, but then having a physical rendition of it hung up on a wall or in someone else's house, it's satisfying. It's rewarding.
Totally.
And it's the physical element of it. It's the tangibility. Yeah. So I do. Yeah. I've got a few prints hung up. And
so are you printing yourself, or do you service for it? Or?
Yeah. I use a print service. Yeah. So I send it off to the print shop, and then I've got a framer separate to them as well.
Okay, nice.
That takes care of the price of my prints, like print framing. So, because that can get pretty expensive too.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah. What happens when you are lacking inspiration and you're seeking to find something to overcome a creative block? What do you do about that when those moments come when you go, I'm just not down?
Yeah, I think, and it happens to everyone, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. For me, it's one of two things. You have a couple of weeks off, just unwind, separate yourself from it. I'm like with me, if I'm on the bike, that's sort of fine because I can just put a bit more of my focus towards where my next ride I want to go to.
Sure.
And or secondly, it'd just be drag your heels out there. Just get out of there. You can oftentimes if you do that, you think to yourself, you know what was I in a rut really, or was it just a bit of motivation? You just get out there and get amongst it, and you'll find something. I mean, it's few and far between where I've actually felt being out there and being like, oh,
I don't want to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like once you're out there and you're amongst it, you just go back into that sort of that workflow of you just fall into the rhythm of happiness and relaxation. It's great. Yeah.
I've got to agree. I don't think there's many times when I've actually gone out and gone, I don't want to be here. Exactly. 9 times out of 10, this is great.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. And if you don't get conditions, it's a bit of a bummer sometimes. Like you have a bit of
you go and shoot something else instead of what you thought you were going to shoot.
Yeah, that's right. Make something of it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I sometimes pop the drone up if the actual land photography or the seascaping's not working. Go and find something different, or go and play around in the rock pools or on rock shells and take really small, not quite macro, but those smaller images of an interesting pattern of rocks or an interesting looking little rock pool or something.
Yeah, that's right. I have wondered about getting into drone photography, but I think juggling.
It took me a while.
I think it's one of those things like there's still a lot to learn about just using the tripod. I think there's no such thing as perfection, is there?
Oh,
drone photography is fascinating. Lots of the images I've seen that like drone captures, it offers a different perspective.
Yeah, that change in perspective is quite cool. But I also, if it's impossible to physically get into a spot, one of the nice things is that you can actually. There was a shot I did. It was a couple of weeks ago now that I actually took it, but flew it out over to above a reef that had leading lines up to this rock. There's a sea stack off the side of a cliff. And I dropped it down pretty much as low as I dared. It was about 3 meters. If I went much lower than that, there wasn't big swell, luckily, but I just didn't feel safe going much below 3 meters because once you get, I think, 2.5 meters, it goes into landing mode anyway, and I didn't want to do that over.
No, that's right.
Three. But actually putting it somewhere where if you could get there, you could stand and taking a more traditional landscape shot, except you doing it with a drone. I find that quite interesting as well. And I've done a few of those that, over over land where I'm a little bit more comfortable going a bit lower. You know, you can get down about that 2 meter mark, and then you're just hunting for images that you could take with your tripod, except you physically can't get to
it. That's. I think I'd be much the same actually, because I do like what I do like about the tripod photography, and it's not that I wouldn't get a drone at some point, but I do appreciate the fact that when you're on a tripod with a camera, everyone can resonate with the perspective, if that makes sense. And I like surrealism within a real perspective, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone can walk past, can see it as if you're on a tripod, it's reality. It's what you're seeing from that perspective. Even if it is surreal, like created through long exposure, or it's got that surrealistic look to it.
Sure.
At least that's where I kind of lean. But yeah, as I said, the ability of what drones can do these days is really phenomenal. And even how crisp they can get pictures. It's incredible.
Yeah. Even with the tiny sensors they have, they're much better than I thought that they would be.
Yeah. Have you got a DJI drone?
A DJI Mini 3. So it's got one of the smaller sensors on the market, but certainly does a reasonable job, and they clean up okay. Occasionally they can be a bit noisy because at least on the Mini 3, you're on a fixed aperture.
Yep.
I think it's f1.7. So you can't change that, which is slightly annoying, but you work around it. So you put filters on, and you just work around some of the limitations that it has. But it still comes out with a credible image. Would I want to blow it up to 3 or 4 meters and have it on a wall? Don't know. Some of them would be okay, maybe up to 1 meter. But
that's the one I've been looking at or pondering recently too, because I've got a bit of real estate photography on the side.
Sure.
Or commercial / real estate, and there is a bit of a calling for that, for a drone imagery.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why I picked up one, was because I do a bit of real estate work, and it's always handy to have, because you can do that overhead shot or an oblique angle that you can't get of the building that you're shooting.
Right. And like a good top down, and how they do the like if you're shooting a house, you can like put some key destinations around it in the image, and it makes it very, I guess, intuitive for someone who's looking at that location to work out what's around.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a place for it.
Yeah. Well worth investing in. I think.
I'd agree. Yeah.
We talked a little bit earlier about your feelings around social media and how that plays out for you.
Yep.
Where do you see photography's place in society? What is it in the world?
Oh, the massive part. I think it serves a great purpose, even down to just the feelings evoked in any space you want them in. You can have, obviously, in certain places you want more vibrant images. If you're trying to convey a bit of atmosphere, you might want some black and white stuff or some long exposure things.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I think the hardest thing, for the biggest challenge facing photography now would be the digital age, certainly with the AI component. But in terms of where the importance of it, I think it has to be on a pedestal in terms of art form still, definitely.
I think the democratic use or the democratization of it, in terms of everyone now has a camera in their phone, and that's as good a quality as, say, 5 or 6 year old DSLR.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of the ability for people to take beautiful shots with reasonable gear, I think, that side of things has really amped up its importance in society, and, whether it's recording people's lives, meals, and whatever, I think it's definitely made a difference.
Yes. Yeah. And then I guess the artistic element too is there's nothing lost in that.
No.
Even with all the capabilities of phones and that, there's still the honing of the artistic element of photography can never be challenged, because it's so personable and subjective to that point earlier.
Definitely.
Yeah, with all that in mind, I think photography's admittedly more challenged and more challenging to hold the rein, but certainly holds importance. Yeah.
What's the best and or worst piece of advice anyone's given you?
Just be yourself. Honestly, I mean, I know that's a popular one, I know, but in all honesty, it is. It back and to previous points of what we said, you just have to, in photography, you just have to do what aligns with you. I mean, there's no point draw your skills or hone your skills based on what other people can produce as well, but ultimately do what you enjoy, both in the process. Actually, I would say more importantly in the process of taking a photo, really enjoy it for what it is, enjoy nature, enjoy the landscape you're in, and let the photo speak for who you are and what you felt. Let it reflect exactly to a T your experience and your person. Yeah.
Great advice. What's your favourite thing about being a photographer?
Favorite thing about ironically, probably the artistic side of it and the expression. I think, and it all derives from points we've previously spoke about. The ability to learn about yourself, learn about your skills, but also portray them in just pixels, really, because that's what it all just breaks down to some pixels. So the ability to convey feeling of both, or feelings you want to evoke but accurately to how you felt in that moment is the most powerful element, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
What's your least favourite thing?
Least favourite thing? More of a comical stance on this, probably just the bloopers you run into as the challenges, just sometimes it's people in your photos. Sometimes it's the elements. Yep. No one wants to be out there if they got 90-degree rain or 45-degree rain rolling in on them. But you just the comical stuff, mate. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time for us to think about wrapping up. I need to know if there's any photographers out there that you'd like me to be talking to on the podcast.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you've had him on, but Shane Lee, he's a...
Okay. I haven't had Shane on.
No, he'd be good, I think, because he's a bit more seasoned than me. I think he's had a bit of film. I didn't quite see the film era. Yeah. Although I do have some film cameras here. I'd like to dust off some I've inherited from my grandparents and dad. But I think Shane Lee would actually make quite an interesting chat. He loves his lung exposures and he's based up at the sunny coast. I've had a bit to do with him and he's been quite good. Like he's really the first local photographer I had become friends with, and we've caught up a few times over the years. So I reckon you'd make a good chat with him. Yeah.
Right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, my last question is the one everybody's waiting to hear. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Yeah, I do, mate. Yeah. But in saying that, it's not the be all end all. I'll have pineapple on pizza, not a drama in the world. Fair enough. I can also do without it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time out today, Dallas. It's been wonderful getting to know you and learning a bit more about where can people find your work.
So I'm on social media. Probably the best place would be Instagram, but I've got a website that I've slowly been building and populating with images. That it's a bit of an under construction job at the moment, but you can find my work there at dallasgrenengerphotography.com.au and likewise on Instagram.
All right. Cheers, Dallas. Thanks very much.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Have you ever had an experience where you were uninspired, and how did you get around that? Leave a comment below. Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show, and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at grantswinburnephotography.com. I'm also on Vero, Photo, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps to get the podcast seen and heard. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.